Hello, this is AstrologerCoach Sonja Francis, and today we're going to be talking about the upcoming full moon in 3 degrees of Leo, which will be exact on January 23rd at 8:46 p.m. East Coast time in the US, which is also New York time, or 5:46 p.m. Pacific time, which is the West Coast in the US, and it's also LA time. So the full moon is always an extroverted time. It's a relationship-oriented time. And of course, with the full moon being in Leo, that is especially true because Leo loves to connect and have fun with other people, and it's a very extroverted energy. So for these next 2 weeks, the sun will be in Aquarius. And so with the full moon in Leo, we're definitely looking for this balance between the Aquarian and Leo polarity, right? And so what are these energies? Aquarius represents our unique vision and our approach to life in terms of like what we think it could be and what we want it to be, right? So it's more of a mental approach, more of an intellectual approach, and it's a desire for us to come together as individuals and as human beings and sort of like create an interconnected equality between everything that exists on the planet. And then, of course, we're being reminded, of course, that in order for us to do that, each person has to contribute and has to be a part of that. And so diversity is very important. And so the Leo energy is very much about that individual self-expression. It is about bringing that unique spark to the table, and it's about our creativity. It's about our ability to connect to the heart, to our inner joy. So it's much more of a creative, being in the moment type of energy, whereas Aquarius is a little bit more intellectual and more forward-thinking, right? So this full moon really reminds us that everyone has the power to make a difference in the world, whether that's in small ways or large ways. And so when we join together, that power becomes exponentially bigger. So 3 and 3 becomes 3 times 3. Or 4 and 4 becomes 4 times 4, etc. Right? So it's really like growing on an energetic level. It becomes exponentially much bigger. Now, if we want to really create a shift in this world or in the world at large, which is really what Aquarius wants us to do, we must, each of us, do our part and share our unique selves, our unique gifts. And that's what Leo is all about, right? So, for example, I'm thinking about starting a monthly conference call, like a webinar type of deal, in which I share about what's coming up every month and, astrologically speaking, and kind of like making that more of an interactive thing so that it's not just me talking at you, right? And I'll talk a little bit more about that at the end of the video as well. And so that would be an example of like, creating something that's for a group of people or for something larger than myself, but it is something where I'm bringing my unique self to it and I'm expressing myself in my Leo energy, right? So that would be sort of like that balance, right? Now, the other part of this full moon that's also important to mention is that Uranus, which is the ruler of Aquarius, is making a square to Pluto, and Pluto is in alignment with Mercury right now in Capricorn. So we have this Uranus-Pluto square that we've been dealing with since 2011 pretty much, and is now ending and fading out, but it's still within 2 degrees, right? So within 2 degrees, we're still feeling that very strongly, and then Mercury just joined in with Pluto. So there's another level of that, which has to do with our thinking, right? So we're being invited to be more honest with ourselves and other people, and especially around our fears or around things that are connected to our deepest desires and the meaning that we want to create in the world, the things that we want to build in the world that's meaningful, that we feel passionate about, right? So we need to be really honest about these things. And we're also invited to be more open to new ways of thinking, new ways of doing things, new ways of achieving things. And that's the Uranus part, right? The Uranus in Aries is inviting us to bring an innovative approach to who we are. And then that Mercury in Capricorn is saying, communicate honestly and authentically what you're here to achieve and what you're here to build long term, right? And so this is on an individual level, but it's also on a collective level where this is true, right? It's connected to our governments, it's connected to our economy, it's connected to, you know, how we do things in the world on a larger scale, but also what we do ourselves personally, you know, so because it's all connected anyways, right? So some of the things that are important to remember with this square is that it's really about kind of stepping up. It's about stretching ourselves a little bit. It's about walking our unique path, right, on an individualistic level. And so then that way the collective can also stretch itself and grow and step up, right? Because it always starts with the individual first, right? And to also remember that life is too short to waste it on things that you're less than fully passionate about, and that you know, in a way where you can't fully express your uniqueness. You know, you are important, you're powerful, you're unique, and you need to bring that to the world, and that's what makes the world a better place. So one thing we have to think about here, and I think that's perfect for the Mercury-Pluto alignment in Capricorn really, is what would I rather say on my deathbed, right? Would I rather say, it was a long, exciting, multifaceted road, and it was worth living, and it was amazing, and it was difficult at the same time, but it was great? Or do we want to say, well, it was what it was. I missed out because, you know, I was a little bit too scared most of the time, or I was too rigid, or I was, you know, attached to being comfortable too much, you know. And this is really, we have to ask ourselves, you know, what does it come down to? What do you want to say when you're about to move into the spiritual realm, when you're about to let go of your physical life? And what do you want to say to your loved ones about that? What do you want to tell your children? You know? So it's really, the bigger picture here is important to take a look at as well, right? And what we believe about life and how we live it and what we do in it. Now, the other thing with this full moon is that Mercury is exalted in the sky at the time of the full moon because it is changing directions, and so it's stationing, and whenever a planet is stationing, it becomes more exalted. So it's been retrograde, and then after the full moon, it will start to go direct again. So it's still retrograde, and so this really brings an emphasis to our thinking processes and what we communicate. And so it's really important for us that we think and speak truthfully, and that we remember that each thought and each word creates an energetic resonance. And this is so important because even though we can't see it, it's always there, you know, and that vibration that we're creating with each one of our thoughts and with each one of our words, that vibration seeks matching vibrations in the outside world. So it's important that we acknowledge that, and that we're taking responsibility, that is something that we're doing. We're creating our own world. We're creating our own life. We're creating what is happening with this planet. This is part of our own creative process. And so the more people can pay attention to that and be mindful of how we create, what we put out, whether it's just a thought or whether it's a communication or conversation that we're having with someone, you know, that is what we will then receive in turn on an individual level, on a collective level, and this is important to realize. So one of the questions you want to ask yourself for these next 2 weeks, which I think is so highly important, is what if I paid 5% more attention to what I think and say about myself, what I say about others, and the world around me? And so that's really important, you know, just sit with those questions for the next 2 weeks, or journal on them, whatever feels more comfortable to you. Just keep them kind of in the back of your mind and just keep kind of tuning into these questions and just see what comes up for you as you keep tuning into this. You know, because that also creates a lot of awareness when you keep tuning into certain questions for yourself, right? Now, the other thing that's important with this full moon is there's an alignment between Jupiter and the moon's north node. And the north node has to do with our soul's journey. It's where we're seeking to grow right now, where we're seeking to focus right now so we can grow and we can learn something new, and we can sort of like expand our soul's journey and our evolution, soul's evolution at this time. And so this is happening in Virgo, and it's been within that 1 degree already since the end of December, and it will be still within that degree until February 26th. So it's definitely going to be, you know, after the full moon for another month at least. So this is an important alignment. It's very strong right now. And this connection really calls us to learn about and expand on being of service wherever we can, however we can, to just see how the world, you know, needs us to really learn about how we can approach life from a place of like, I'm here to serve. I'm here to do something for myself, for others, for the collective, you know, whatever that means to you, right? And when we learn to be honest, when we learn to be orderly and attentive to details in new ways, we are going to feel more fulfilled and more satisfied with our daily routines, with our work, right? And we're also going to feel much more alive and optimistic if we pursue mental clarity and mental focus. If we create productivity systems that help us pay attention to the details and also wholesome approaches. And that's really key too with that Virgo energy. Virgo is all about the holistic approach of things, the wholesome approach of things. Because Virgo understands that everyone is like just a particle of the whole. And so we need to address all of it, the whole system, in order to really be healthy. It's about being healthy, and Virgo is very much about being healthy. So Jupiter and the North Node in Virgo are teaching us currently how to look at that from a different perspective and how to learn how to become more holistic, how to become more wholesome in our approaches, whether that's in our own daily routines, whether that's in connection to our own health, or whether that's in connection to the collective and what we do in the world. You know, because there's systems everywhere. You know, you have a system at home, you have a system at work, you have a system, you know, in government, you have a system, you know, in a big corporation. There are systems everywhere. So, but it's important to approach them from a wholesome place, right? And that's what that is about. So questions you can ask yourself with this Jupiter North Node alignment. What are some practical steps I could take to feel more self-assured in my daily routines? So whatever your daily routines are, you know, whether you're a stay-at-home mom or you're an artist or you work, you have your own business, whatever it is, whatever it looks like. And even if you're unemployed right now, you know, look at your daily routines and see if you can bring some structure into them and if you can make them better, you know, make some improvements there and see how you can work them differently than how you've worked them before, right? And another question you can ask yourself, how can I expand being of service in a small or large way? Whatever way that looks like for you personally. How can you just attempt being of service in some way to someone, to something, right? So again, you can sit with these questions for the next 2 weeks or even for the next month, right? And just to sum it all up with this full moon, the full moon really wants to encourage us to get out of our comfort zones, you know, and acknowledge that we're in this together, you know, that there's something we need to connect with each other, especially with like-minded people, so that we can create something that's larger than ourselves and that's better than what we can create on our own. And of course, getting out of our comfort zones, you know, does mean that sometimes we have to be a little bit uncomfortable. And I know this is completely logical, of course, but we don't always think about that, right? We don't always think, oh, when I get out of my comfort zone, that means I have to be uncomfortable. And because nobody really wants to be uncomfortable, right? But what you want to remember with being uncomfortable is that you want to honor how far outside of your comfort zone you can go. So it's not about, you know, it's not about going so far out that you start to panic. Panic is not the goal. Right? Re-traumatizing yourself is not the goal. We all have our limitations, right? So you want to definitely honor your limitations, but you also want to stretch yourself a little bit. You want to stretch yourself as much as you can so that you are not panicking, but you're growing, right? Because growing means stretching. Growing means being uncomfortable for a little bit. And that means, just take baby steps. If you don't know, how far you can stretch, what feels stretchy enough and what feels too panicky for you, then just take little baby steps and just see and just keep checking in with yourself. Keep honoring yourself, right? Keep being kind and loving towards yourself in this process. So I have a couple more questions with this full moon that you can ask yourself if you like. Where could I add my voice, my vision, and my gifts? And what is my role at this pivotal time on Earth? Because we are definitely in a pivotal time right now. We're shifting, we're changing. This is a really beautiful time to be alive. And everyone who signed up to be on this Earth, on this planet at this time, has signed up for it because of this shift. Because you wanted to be a part of making a difference and shifting into a new kind of paradigm on how we live on this planet, how we honor this planet, and how we honor ourselves within all of it, right? So ask yourself, what is my role in this pivotal time, and how can I be of service? And just remember, no effort is too small, no step is too little, and most of all, it's never too late to make a difference. And I think that's important because we tell ourselves these things, in our own heads. Sometimes, I'm too this, I'm too that, and whatever. Just because we want to stay comfortable and we want to stay safe. So just remember, making a difference doesn't matter what it looks like. It doesn't matter where you're at in your life. There's always a way to make a difference, right? Now, if you have an ascendant, a career point, or personal planets in 1 to 5 degrees of Leo, Aquarius, Taurus, or Scorpio, then you're definitely going to feel the effects of this full moon more strongly than other people. But even if you don't have those signs and degrees in your birth chart in terms of personal planets and ascendant or whatever, look at the house placement that the full moon falls into. Look at where is 3 degrees of Leo and 3 degrees of Aquarius in your natal chart. And that will give you a sense of what area of your life needs some balance, and where do you need to, make a difference, where do you need to bring your own unique gifts to the table. And if you don't know what I'm talking about with this, then definitely feel free to check out my video, How to Read Your Birth Chart. You can email us at info@astrologercoach.com and we'll email you that recording. Just write recording in the subject line, and you'll also get some handouts with that as well. And that's a great video to watch for understanding my videos a little bit better, and also my weekly forecasts and kind of applying your own natal chart to my videos and to my weekly forecasts. All right. Now, I mentioned a little bit earlier that I'm thinking about doing a monthly conference call, kind of like a webinar type deal, in which I share about what's coming up on a monthly basis. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about that in case you're interested in that. I want to do this for everyone who's interested in just aligning themselves with upcoming energies. It's going to be more interactive than the videos that I do on YouTube, and you can ask questions, and so it's really a great way to just kind of address the astrological energies in more detail and to have some fun with it. And I personally always think that having fun is a great way to learn something new. It's a great way to stretch ourselves and to align ourselves with what's coming up, even if it's challenging stuff. It's important to kind of like look at it from a point of view that helps you digest it a little bit better, right? And that's what I'm here for, and that's what I'm trying to do this year a little bit more so, is I'm trying to really be sort of like a catalyst for people to understand themselves and understand life in a new way, so that it's a little bit easier to digest, it's a little bit easier to be with whatever challenges come up or whatever that happens in life that demands of us to grow, and it demands of us to shift into a bigger place, or having our own evolution with this. And it's not always that easy. So it's good to have a guidance that helps us to make that transition a little bit smoother. And I have my own guidance as well. I have several people that I look for guidance as well. So I'm doing exactly what I also want to do for you, right? Now, all levels of astrology are welcome for this webinar. If you're beginner, intermediate, advanced, if you're pro, everyone's welcome. So just stay tuned. I will make an announcement pretty soon in one of my newsletters or via my videos. So stay tuned, and I'll be letting you know when the first webinar will happen. All right. Now I'm still offering a New Year's reading. So if you want to jump on that, that's only available until the end of February. So if that's something that's of interest to you, look ahead for 2016, how you can align yourself with the energies for the year, how you can make more powerful choices for yourself for this year, right? So feel free to reach out on my website, AstrologerCoach.com. It says New Year's Special, and you can just click on the link next to that, and then it will take you to the page where you can book the reading. All right. And the last thing I want to mention is that if you want to sign up for my weekly forecasts or my newsletter, that's possible. Weekly forecasts, you can look at them on my website. That gives you sort of like a longer look ahead, and helps you to see when do the moon void of courses happen and when do particular aspects happen. It's a very detailed report on what's happening every week. And you can also subscribe to those, and then you get them via email every Sunday evening. You can just email us at info@astrologercoach.com and just write weekly forecasts in the subject line. And if you don't want to receive those every week, and you just want to stay up to date with what's new and what's going on in my business, I send out a newsletter twice a month during the new moon and the full moon with my videos in them, and also with announcements around what's going on in my business and what's new, courses, webinars, special offers, all that good stuff. So feel free to just send me an email and write newsletter in the subject line. And if you want to receive both, that's possible too, of course. And then you can just write both in the subject line. You don't have to send two separate emails to me, okay? And that's it. So have a fantastic full moon. If you have any questions about the full moon in general, or astrology in general, feel free to email me at Sonja@astrologercoach.com. That's SONJA@astrologercoach.com. And I will be happy to answer these questions. If it's something a little bit more involved that requires of me to pull up your birth chart, any personal questions, I will ask you to book a reading just to honor my time, and just also so I can answer your question fully and completely. And I hope you understand. So feel free to go to my website at astrologercoach.com and just go to my services page there, and that will help you book a reading. All right. So have a fantastic full moon. Enjoy, connecting with people, with like-minded people in particular. Enjoy having fun. And, use this relationship-oriented time to really share your gifts, share your joy, and connect to a better future. All right. I'll be back in 2 weeks. And this is Astrologer Coach, Sonja Francis. Goodbye.